Good morning and welcome to Russell Does Stuff. My name is Russell and I'm always doing stuff. I'm up with the chickens this morning and I got maybe 2 hours to do this morning because I couldn't get everything done on Tuesday and Monday. We had some more inclement weather, so which is fine. I'll get all this done and go to the gym and then go to the butcher shop and get some steaks for the grill tonight. I'm going to that new customer's house that I got like 3 weeks ago. Make him happy. He likes to come out and talk, and I appreciate some of his conversations. Reminded of 2 years ago when I used to work in country clubs and work for very wealthy people, billionaires, and they're bored and they don't have a lot to do other than go to lunch, go to dinner, sleep, rinse and repeat. And they'd always come out and want to talk to me about their yard. And for 8 years, they all had that habit. I tried to get as much work done before they started to come out and stop me from working. I bet you I spent an hour or 40 minutes each week having conversations with them about their property. And you have to be nice and you have to talk to them, whether you got storm rolling in. Like yesterday, a storm rolled in and I was lucky nobody came out and talked to me and stopped my progress. But you have to be nice and you have to have a positive mental attitude. They don't have the same plans for that day that you have, so. Do I miss them? No. Someone else can work for them. I've had enough. And I positioned myself through proper planning and sometimes poor execution, but in the end it all worked out. Escape from the country club customers and the very, very wealthy. Now, not all wealthy and rich people do that kind of stuff. I've got wealthy people I work for, that don't come out and stop me from working and email me, text me, call me. But when you're first starting out, or you have a goal, you have to suffer that stuff. I got friends that started a business and they don't have any customers, and they would love to have customers that would come out and say hi or take up their time while they're trying to work. Call them, ask them for information, solve their problems. It's funny is, when I didn't have any customers, I wasn't experiencing any of that stuff. But then when I got a lot of customers and I started making money, I changed. I found it annoying to be bothered all the time. I guess you call that getting soft or not having the eye of the tiger or what, But most of the time when they came out, I sold them something. I guess they never realized, that every time they came out, I sold them mulch or some tree trimming or some plants or just something, something quick and easy. Sometimes something hard, I would, plan what I was going to sell my customers. So I waited until they came out. So I had the sales pitch down, and I knew exactly where I wanted to take my customer in the sales process. Sometimes they'd come out and there was nothing to do in their yard, and I would tell them, it's time to pressure wash your house, and they would call someone else. I would sell them on the idea of calling someone and having them come out and do jobs. And yes, they did need the services. I wasn't telling them that for no reason. I have a friend I've been friends with for a while, and I've been nothing but a good friend to this person. When he's unable to drive, I would take him to the stores to get his pills and his food and stuff. And in this neighborhood where I have some customers, there's a guy that is going around trying to take customers from people. And he wound up working for one of my customers, doing some painting or something, pressure washing and stuff. And we all know who the guy is. He's not a bad guy or nothing. And I've helped him out whenever he's needed anything. And he's got my number and stuff. And I found out he was trying to get my extra work from one of my customers. He was trying to convince my customer to let him do the extra work, and he knew it was my extra work. And in some businesses, you make your money on your extra work. Okay, so he did the extra work, my extra work, and then I get a phone call like a few days later, and I knew he did my extra work. I seen it. He calls me and he says, "Hey," he says, "I was wondering if I could do, the trees in that lady's yard." And I said, "We already did them." He goes, "Well, I didn't want to step on your toes. I thought I would talk to you about it first." I go, I already did it. I asked him, I said, "What's going on, man? Do you need money or something? Because I'll give you money." All right. I said, do you need work or something? And he lives in a big old house. And he's got cars and swimming pool, and he's got a pretty tight palace, And I said, "Hey, I know like 3,000 people. I can give your name out to people if you want, and then you don't have to take my stuff, And that's, a few $100s that should have went in my pocket." So the guy that I help out and am friends with knows the whole situation. And he called this guy up and had him come over to his house to do some things. And I also mow this guy's lawn and take care of anything he needs. And we hang out. He comes to the shop and we go do things. He's been over for dinner a bunch of times. And he has Brian over to his house to do a bunch of stuff. And I said to him, why didn't you ask me? You asked me for everything else. Why would you do that? He goes, "Oh, you're busy and stuff, and but for 4 years, I've never been busy to do all the other stuff for him, because he's not a young buck anymore. So he's telling himself a story because he got caught, and he's trying to believe his own story. So I have a decision to make. Is my friend a traitor? Should I let it slide? I don't know. I'm kind of torn about the whole thing. If something's on your mind a little bit more than normal, you have to solve that problem. So I don't know. What would you guys do if somebody was weaseling in on your jobs, and then your friend is using that guy for stuff and things, or is it just stupid and I should just ignore it and do nothing and continue being friends with that guy? Well, tell me what you think in the comments below. I got a couple more things to do, and then hopefully I'll be back at headquarters at 8:30. So I'm not sure what to do. Should I end a friendship? Was it really a friendship? What would you do if your friends were doing stuff with people that have done you wrong, done you dirty before, All right, well, this is Russell with Russell Does Stuff, and I'm going to get back to it, and you guys have the best evening, morning, day you can.